So lovely good evening and welcome to Camnet TV News. To present, my name is Jeffrey Ziambo. We'll take a look at stories making headlines tonight. Doctors continue with protests as PF orders for their immediate dismissal. FRA sets 150 kwacha as buying price for 50 kg bag of white maize. MOSHO asks CONCOURT to dismiss ECL eligibility case, saying he enjoys immunity. And in international news, China allows couples to have 3 children. And in sports news, Zambia Motorsport Association bans car drifting and spinning events.
2021 has been described as a highly politically charged year. This is because every 5 years the country goes to the polls, and that 5 years elapses. With only a few months remaining down to the ballot, the battlefield to appear on the ballot is becoming fertile. A lot of people are expressing interest of appearing on the ballot.
In all this, our interest is to put the duty bearers, the leaders, and those aspiring to task by asking the relevant questions.
If you're an aspiring candidate, be it councillor, mayor, or member of parliament, get in touch with us to get yourself on the verdict.
We go beyond speculation in dealing with policy and governance issues. The right questions are asked to help you make a verdict. For more details, you can call us on 0962 965883, 0979753010, or email us info@camnettvafrica.com. Terms and conditions apply. Join us on Camnet TV
every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 17:45 hours
on a new program dubbed The Verdict.
Remember that Camnet TV is not just another channel.
Hello once again, now the news in detail. The Food Reserve Agency, FRA, has announced that it will this year be buying a 50-kilogram bag of white maize at 150 kwacha, while that of soybeans will be bought at 500 kwacha. Speaking at a media briefing held in Lusaka Monday morning, FRA Board Chairperson Kelvin Hambwezia says the agency is targeting to purchase not less than 500,000 metric tons of white maize and 50,000 metric tons of soybeans. Mr. Hambwezia adds that the agency will also be buying a 40-kilogram bag of paddy rice at 200 kwacha. He says the prices are not floor prices, but the amount the FRA will be buying the crop under the principle of willing seller and willing buyer. Mr. Hambwezia has since encouraged millers to buy sufficient stocks to sustain their milling business, as the agency will not offload maize from the strategic grain reserves.
In the past few years, the Food Reserve Agency, FRA, has failed to meet the said target for maize, soybeans and paddy rice purchase owing to the late entry into the market and what the farmers term low prices offered by the agency for their produce. But this year, the agency is set to mend the loops and ensure that the country continues to have enough stock feed. To that effect, FRA has targeted to purchase not less than 5,000 metric tons of maize, which it says will be bought at 3 kwacha per kilogram, amounting to 150,000 kwacha per 50-kilogram bag of white maize. FRA Board Chairperson Kelvin Hambwezia, who briefed the media in Lusaka, adds that the agency will buy soybeans at 10 kwacha per kilogram, resulting in a 50-kilogram bag going at 500 kwacha, while a 40 kg bag of paddy rice will be going at 200 kwacha.
The Food Reserve Agency will buy maize this season, will buy white maize this season at 150 kwacha per 50 kilogram bag of maize. They will buy soybeans at 500 kwacha per 50 kgs bag of soybeans. They will buy paddy rice at 200 kwacha per 50 kilogram bag of paddy rice. Sorry, per 40. Sorry, the Vice Chairman is correcting me here. Sorry, paddy rice will be 200 kwacha per 40 kgs. Paddy rice will be 200 kwacha per 40 kg bag.
Mr. Hambwezia says it is anticipated that the FRA prices will not disadvantage the private sector, who are expected to purchase the large share of the 3.6 million metric tons of maize produced in the 2020-2021 farming season.
These are not floor prices. These are our prices as FRA, meaning the private sector is free to come on the market and offer their own prices. Are we together? We have not set these as floor prices, no.
And the agency wants millers to buy sufficient stock of their own from the farmers to sustain their milling business, as the agency will not offload maize from the strategic grain reserves.
It is anticipated that the Food Reserve Agency prices shall not disadvantage the private sector. This year's maize bumper harvest of 3.6 million metric tons, and in line with government policy, millers, and I want to make a clarion call here to millers, millers are being encouraged to buy sufficient stocks of their own from the farmers to sustain their milling businesses, as FRA will not offload maize from the strategic grain reserves, which ideally is meant for national emergencies as prescribed in the FRA Act.
For many years now, farmers have cried for a good pricing of their produce in order to make the farming business profitable. It is hoped that with the announced prices by the agency, the many years of suffering will be wiped and farmers will be the next millionaires in Zambia. Prudence Trota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Zambia has joined the Global Village in commemorating the World Tobacco Day with a call on the need for people to quit tobacco usage. Addressing the media Monday, Zambia Tobacco Control Consortium Chairman Professor Faston Goma has called on government to commit in making sure that they put up measures that will discourage smoking. He has suggested that government put up a toll line to help tobacco quitters, ban tobacco advertisements, and enforcing placement of large pictorial adverts. We have more in this report.
31st May is a day set aside to creating awareness on tobacco usage and its dangers. Zambia Tobacco Control Consortium says there is need to stop people from smoking. The consortium includes Center for Primary Care Research, Mental Health Users of Zambia, the Anti-Alcohol and Drug Abuse. Speaking during a media briefing to mark the World No Tobacco Day 2021 under the theme Commit to Quit, consortium representative Professor Faston Goma observes that tobacco kills at least more than 50% of its users.
These programs in conjunction with other demand reduction tobacco control policies. What are the other demand reduction tobacco control policies? These are policies which include evoking higher tobacco taxes to make tobacco less affordable, policies that effect smoke-free policies, banning smoking in public places. We are talking here of policies that ban tobacco advertising, promotion, and sponsorship, policies that demonize tobacco and tobacco use. We are talking of policies that would enforce placement of large pictorial health warning signs on tobacco packages. And we want policies that will actually compel governments to effect mass media campaigns. Information must go out there, and we hope that the government can actually commit resources to these to this campaign.
Speaking at the same event, Mental Health Users of Zambia Association has observed that most communities encourage mental patients to smoke as a way to relieve stress, a move she has discouraged.
According to a paper from Lancet Psychiatry, and that was issued on May 2019, it is stated, and I quote, "When you smoke and inhale nicotine, it activates a receptor for the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, which eventually leads to the release of dopamine and serotonin." End of quote. And because the dopaminic system is heavily involved in schizophrenia, it could be that nicotine and other components of cigarette could be disrupting the dopaminic pathways in the brain that could ultimately contribute to schizophrenia.
Meanwhile, the Anti-Alcohol and Drug Abusers says alcohol shortens the life of people, stating that even though some alcohol abusers do not smoke, the places they frequent are full of people who smoke.
Most people that smoke also abuse alcohol. So many alcoholics smoke, putting them at a higher risk for tobacco-related complications. So mixing these two shortens one's lifespan. When one doesn't drink, or when a drinker, one who abuses alcohol, doesn't smoke, but when they patronize bars, they're at a risk of second-hand smoke. So they're being exposed to second-hand smoke. So they don't win either way.
The World No Tobacco Day was first commemorated in 1987, aimed at drawing global attention to the tobacco epidemic and preventable death and issues. Sharon Kalimbola, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The go-slow for resident doctors has entered day 4 as demands to release some doctors who have been arrested by the Zambia police heighten. Resident doctors on Friday commenced their go-slow after a failed government promise to meet their demands. On Sunday, Resident Doctors Association President Dr. Brian Sampa demanded that police release his colleagues because they have not committed any crimes other than demanding what was promised. You know, it was later learned that the doctors were dispersed by the police, while Dr. Chikonde Mukula, who was arrested on the Copperbelt on Sunday, is said to have been released and his charges dropped. Dr. Mukula is the current Resident Doctors Association Secretary General.
Release Dr. Chikonde, reinstate Dr. Sampa, employment of unemployed doctors, salary arrears, sending in allowances, promotions. Why should an SRMO, registrar or consultant get paid a doctor salary?
Monday, the go-slow by the resident doctors entered day 4. The directive by the Resident Doctors Association of Zambia was that all emergency departments should be manned by the people on call. Emergencies on the wards should be attended to, while those not on call should report for work at 08 hours and assemble at a selected meeting point until 16 hours, which is knocking off time. The doctors felt cheated after the government failed to pay arrears and settling in allowances, gratuities, and creation of some positions and the employment of more than 500 doctors. However, the move has seen the association president, Dr. Brian Sampa, having his license revoked by the Health Professions Council of Zambia, HPCZ. Others have since been arrested. But the doctors remain firm on their stance and are demanding that those arrested be released.
What about the money that is being splashed in the communities? They are seeing. These are not blind people. They hear things, they see things. So that puts the leadership of the association in a predicament, because you cannot go back to tell the membership that there's no money, but they are seeing what is happening. The other issue that has been raised is the issue of the president for Resident Doctors Association of Zambia, Dr. Sampa, who has been suspended by the HPCZ. Also, that really, is it really necessary? The membership feel that it is not necessary, and also there's an issue of one of the resident doctors who's been incarcerated by the police, Dr. Chikonde. We do not even know where he is, but all we know is that he was captured yesterday in the night and charged with espionage. So we are not aware, we don't know where our member is. The family members keep calling.
They are concerned that government leaders have been flashing money for political gains, yet their issues remain unattended to. They want President Edgar Lungu to address their issues.
Lives, but instead is at the police office. Is it wrong, surely, to ask that you are given that which you are owed? I think these things have escalated really quickly, and I'm just appealing to the conscience of the leadership of this country, specifically the President of Zambia, His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu. If he is able to watch this, please, sir, we are just doctors, we are not politicians, we have no fight with anyone. We are just appealing that we are heard, sir, and we are given what is due to us. And everything will be back to normal. The doctors will go on to do their duties. They are only asking that we hear the 4 things that have been raised by the doctors.
Meanwhile, Movement for Multi-Party Democracy MMD spokesperson Dr. Kefas Mukuka has condemned the suspension of the practicing license for Dr. Brian Sampa.
We are condemning the suspension because we note with a serious regret that the case involving the go-slow of the said doctors is purely a labor matter. And at no time are police supposed to get involved. The police can only get involved if at all the doctors got riotous along the way.
By broadcast time, efforts to get a comment from the Zambia police on the arrests of some doctors proved futile. Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
Meanwhile, Patriotic Front PF Media Director Antonio Mwanza is disappointed at the behavior of the resident doctors who have now entered day 4 of their go slow. Mr. Mwanza tells Camnet TV News that the PF has been reliably informed that the resident doctors are being pushed to behave this way by a non-political figure at the expense of the people who need their services. He says the aim is to put the name of government into disrepute. Mr. Mwanza has since urged government to fire all the doctors that are on strike and employ people that are willing to work for the people. He says these doctors are playing politics and should be allowed to go to the political route which they want.
We have impeccable information that these doctors have been meeting a non-political leader in this country with the sole purpose of bringing the government down. And we know that from those meetings, they have agreed that they want to escalate their strike and try to entice nurses and other public service workers to down tools to bring the PF government down. And we will not sit aside and look while the lives of the Zambian people, the lives of the patients to which these doctors have vowed to save are being lost because these doctors don't want to work even after they have been paid. We therefore call upon the government to quickly move in and dismiss all the resident doctors who are on strike.
People's Alliance for Change PAC President Andiford Banda has expressed disappointment with what he terms as government intimidation and threats against protesting Doctors Association of Zambia, who are demanding for over 150 million kwacha in unpaid gratuities and settling in allowances, among several other demands. The opposition leader says the use of state apparatus such as the Zambia Police and Health Professions Council of Zambia to intimidate the doctors who work hard to keep the healthcare system every day for simply making valuable demands is unfortunate. He says government has neglected the healthcare workers and soon it will be the defense forces because all they are interested in is enriching themselves through every corrupt means possible they can find, as seen in the supply of defective condoms, expired drugs and pilferage of medical supplies while failing to pay doctors their dues for the hard work. And Mr. Banda has noted that the Patriotic Front government has been wasting millions of taxpayers' money empowering their cadres without thinking of the doctors that are saving the lives of many. He has urged government to desist from arm twisting the doctors through the suspension of the association president Brian Sampa's practicing license and now the use of Inspector General of Police threatening arrests.
We are very disappointed by the threats that have been issued against the Resident Doctors Association of Zambia for merely demanding for what rightly belongs to them. As PAC, we are also disappointed by the fact that the government is using apparatus such as the Zambia Police, the Health Professions Council of Zambia to intimidate the Resident Doctors Association of Zambia. We believe that workers across, apart from the doctors, have got the right to protest and to demand for what belongs to them. And these threats, which we know are just based on the fact that the PF government always want to look clean, are not welcome. As PAC, we know that the PF government has been demanding empowering their cadres, with various empowerment programs, spending millions of kwacha and neglecting, professionals such as the Resident Doctors Association of Zambia. Our doctors, they take care of the healthcare system, and this instability that is happening in the healthcare system, threatens to affect, the delivery of health services to the majority of Zambian people in this country. It is our demand that the government must actually come forward quickly to ensure that the demands of the resident doctors of the Association of Zambia are met, without fail.
But All People's Congress party leader Nelson Msoni says such acts are happening due to a lack of sound leadership. Mr. Msoni further says the country is in need of a serious leader in order to turn around the economic fortunes of the country. He says the sustained reckless abuse of state resources cannot go unchallenged in the circumstances. The APC leader says the country's hospitals are desperate for medicines, and yet they have been suffocated of the necessary resources that are vital in the procurement of the essential life-supporting drugs in preference to procure campaign materials. He explains that this is the type of selfishness that must be challenged by the citizenry via the ballot.
This level of desperation is what is destroying this country. This kind of selfishness. And I can guarantee you that these are public funds that the man has used. Okay, so the verdict is now on Zambians. The choice and decision is on Zambians to deliver a decisive verdict on a man who has such insatiable appetite for power that is able to use public funds for his own personal use at the expense of the overwhelming majority of our people. This is exactly the replica of what happened in 2011. Every poor had Kitenje materials. What happened? The rest is history. And I appeal to you Zambians than ever before that you have to deliver a decisive verdict.
A political scientist, Dr. Alex Ngoma, has urged the police and the Ministry of Health to apply the COVID-19 guidelines fairly ahead of the August 12 general elections. Speaking in an interview with Camnet TV News, Dr. Ngoma says rules must be applied equally both for the opposition and the ruling Patriotic Front. He says measures must be put in place to allow political parties to hold political gatherings amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
So that if a rule is made, a policy is made, it applies to all Zambians individually and collectively in exactly the same manner and with the same force. So it's either no political party holds a large gathering, or all of them should be allowed to hold large gatherings. That is the bottom line. And I think that it's a logical position to take. I'm recommending to our leaders across the board that if the regulations must apply to all entities equally and fairly. So if some are allowed to, hold rallies, then everybody must be allowed. If all of them must adhere to the guidelines, then they must do that.
Movement for Democratic Change President Felix Mutati has reaffirmed his party's commitment towards a continued working relationship with the UPND Alliance for the betterment of the Zambian people. Speaking in Chongwe in the company of the UPND Alliance running mate Mutale Nalumango, Mr. Mutati has expressed confidence in the alliance President Hakainde Hichilema as the only solution to the many problems being faced by the majority Zambians. He explains that the decision to let go of their ambitions is a clear indication that the leaders are in care and are there to save the Zambian people and not for selfish reasons.
MDC natuipela twatwala with UPND Alliance bakuti abantu beswa mu Zambia tubalubule Tiubombe weka iyo chipange amano kanu wabomba n'abantu so ifuna tuichefya twatwala bomba no mulumendo HH n'aba running mate bagwaba obotwala bomba nabo muno mu 2021 na tuishiwa tukabalikita tabaka shupeyo yunasala ukuba kuno bali Zambia kabela tuchame waiseni mwana wangi mchalo chawa ya kubanshi Zambia na maboho ya leisa na masukulu ya leisa na tikatane
The Zambia National Marketeers Credit Association, ZANAMACA, has announced that it will, effective Monday, 31st May 2021, start empowering marketeers with capital amounting to 1,000 kwacha each. ZANAMACA President Mupila Kameya says his association has received funding of up to 700,000 kwacha from well-wishers meant to empower marketeers whose business range do not exceed 1,000 kwacha. Mr. Kameya adds that his institution has engaged ZANACO and Zambia Industrial Commercial Bank to facilitate the disbursement of these funds. He adds that his association is expected to raise in excess of 6 million kwacha meant for empowering marketeers once all pledges are fully paid.
Targeting the smallest marketeers, because these are the majority. You know, it takes time for a marketeer to grow from this level to that level. There are those that whose capital is 500 kwacha, 1,000, up to 3,000 kwacha. These are the ones that we are going to target first of all. While we are sourcing for other funds for those that in the levels of 5,000 going upwards. And so those whose capital is above 20,000-30,000, we have engaged partners like Zambia Industrial Commercial Bank and ZANACO Bank, because these are already registered companies whom we can try to link them up with these institutions so that they look at what they're doing and they'll be able to be capitalized through our platform. At the moment, we raised about somewhere around 700,000 kwacha from some of our individual partners. But if we look at the calculations of what has been promised to come into our coffer, I think we're talking about 2 million, which we expect to have, so that we are able to extend our empowerment programs. Because it's not easy to satisfy everyone. The markets are huge, the informal sector is large, so we need so much money. This is why we're appealing to so many of the partners out there to work with us so that we empower these huge numbers. This phase of our project, we are going to target the youths and the women marketeers who are the majority among the 3.7 million marketeers in Zambia.
You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. We take a break. We'll be back with more news.
At Master Signs, our services range from outdoor, indoor signage such as billboards, banners, 3D light boxes, pylons and neon signs. We are located at plot number 397A, Makeni Road, Lusaka, at Oryx Filling Station. For more details, call us on +260 967 100 090 or +260 966 999 981, or better still, email us at infomastersign@gmail.com. Master Sign, we will make it shine.
And the PF have facilitated the expansion of Levi Mwanawasa University Teaching Hospital. Vote for Edgar Chagwalungu and the PF that have brought you change.
Oh yes, it's Mayday all the way. You've worked hard. Now it's time to play even harder with entertainment that you'll absolutely love this month on GoTV. Okay. Shake things up a little and you'll never know what drama will fall. No matter your age, there's always some fun to be had. And if it ain't broke, they'll fix it anyway. For your favorite shows, stay connected to GoTV to get into Mayday entertainment.
Find something to distract me.
You got it, no problem. GoTV, love it.
In this fast-paced era of industrial boom and population growth, there is need to invest in smart ways of managing electricity and water consumption and reducing utility billing costs associated with the postpaid billing system. At Savenda Electronics, we manufacture right here in Zambia different types of high-quality smart electricity and water meters to customer specifications. Savenda Electronics water and electricity meters help you monitor your usage and gives notifications such as low units, tampering, low battery, and many other features. These easy-to-use meters makes it easier to buy units even in these COVID times and top up just from the comfort of your space. Favorable contract terms are available to both electricity and water utilities. For more details, get in touch with us on the following numbers: 0956 580 349 or 0977 498 318. Savenda Electronics, the real deal.
Camnet TV is here to entertain, educate and inform you. Catch Rise and Thrive at 0730 hours every Saturday. Fresh and new praise and worship comes Monday to Friday at 8 hours. Kids need to be glued to the TV every weekday at 09 hours for their favorite cartoons. Off the pitch with the boys as they talk about sport on Saturdays at 0930 hours.
Remember, we are also here to entertain you with our different varieties of movies every weekday at 10 hours. Join Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa with Healing Word Ministries International Church live sermon every Sunday at 10 hours.
Katamanda brings to you another journey of gospel ministers on Saturdays at 10:30 hours. The verdict comes to your screens at 17:45 hours. Join the Revival Harvest Church every Sunday at 18:30 hours.
Every Monday to Saturday, join us on the news desk at 12 hours as we bring to you the midday news, and at 19:30 hours Central African time every day for the main bulletin.
The ministry with Pastor Moses Chilua comes every Friday at 20:45 hours. On Mondays, it's your favorite national matters at 20:45 hours.
Wednesday and Thursday, Pastor Victoria and Moses Chilua are on Partnership of Greatness with different spiritual teachings at 20:45 hours.
And Frank on Camnet comes to your screen every Tuesday at 20:45 hours.
Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. A Lusaka lawyer, Louis Mosho, has petitioned two institutions and an individual who are challenging President Edgar Lungu's nomination, stating that the action taken by the three contravenes Article 98 of the Constitution, which prohibits any civil or criminal proceedings against a sitting head of state. Counsel Mosho has since asked the Constitutional Court to declare the petition against President Lungu, who is also PF's presidential candidate, null and void. In this case, Mosho has cited Dr. Sishua, Legal Resource Foundation Limited, Chapter 1 Foundation Limited as respondents. The petitioner is seeking a declaration that the case commenced by the three respondents is an abuse of the court process and should be dismissed. We have more in this report.
With only 2 months and counting days remaining till the country goes for general elections, the eligibility case involving the head of state is becoming more and more tense, with each day the matter having a new development twist. And the latest counter-argument surrounding this case is that a Lusaka lawyer has now petitioned individuals who are challenging President Lungu's nomination. Lusaka lawyer Louis Mosho, in a new petition before the Constitutional Court, has cited Dr. Shishua, the Legal Resources Foundation Limited, and Chapter 1 Foundation Limited as respondent. Counsel Mosho states that the petition by the respondent is an abuse of the court, as it is an initiative for the court to depart from its earlier sound interpretation surrounding the president's eligibility. The Legal Resources Foundation Limited, Dr. Shishua, and Chapter 1 Foundation Limited have petitioned the head of state, seeking a declaration that his nomination papers filed on the 17th of May 2021 to contest for the general elections are now void because they contravene Article 1063 of the Constitution. Their argument is that the president has been sworn in office twice, hence not eligible to contest as a presidential candidate. But Counsel Mosho, whose petition is pursuant to Article 128(3)(c) of the Constitution, wants the court to dismiss their case against President Lungu on ground that it contravenes the provision of Article 98 of the Constitution. According to Counsel Mosho, Article 98(1) prohibits any person from instituting civil or criminal proceedings against the Republican president. His prayer is that the court will hear his petition. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
A state prosecutor prosecuting the matter where Patriotic Front PF member Chishimba Kambwili is accused of having insulted President Lungu has asked Lusaka Chief Resident Magistrate Lamek Mwale to give the case a shortest adjournment after informing the court that he had received instructions regarding the case. When the matter came up for opening of Kambwili's defense Monday morning, the state informed the court that they were not ready to proceed with the case because they had received instructions that the matter stands down. In this matter, Kambwili is alleged to have between August 26 and 27, 2019 in Lusaka with intent to bring the president's name into hatred, ridicule or contempt, published an insulting matter by words of mouth. The matter comes up on the 16th of June 2021. Still in court news, the Lusaka Magistrates Court has ordered former Lusaka Province Minister Boman Lusambo to pay a photographer 2,000 kwacha for the photography services rendered to him. This is in a matter where Beston Ishindi sued Mr. Lusambo in the Small Claims Court for non-payment of 4 12x8 picture frames. Commissioner Joseph Jalasi has entered judgment in default of appearance against Mr. Lusambo. Ishindi has been awarded 18% interest on the money owed to him and a 600 kwacha for costs. Allegations are that during the wedding ceremony of the young sister to Mr. Lusambo's wife, the couple asked Mr. Ishindi's photography service, which Mr. Lusambo failed to pay. The complainant claimed that Lusambo's wife paid for the small pictures, while the former minister got 4 big pictures, which were going at 500 kwacha, and asked him to go to his office during working days to collect his money. Ishindi alleged that when he went to Lusambo's office, the latter refused to pay him for his services and resorted to storytelling on several occasions, forcing him to take the matter to court. The Bureau of Forensics Zambia has called on the Zambia Revenue Authority ZRA to ensure that all vehicles in transit through Zambia are fitted with gadgets to monitor their movements. Bureau of Forensics Zambia founder Wilson Kalembe says most vehicles in transit end up in Lusaka while others are being used for smuggling purposes. Mr. Kalembe has commended ZRA for engaging in an exercise that will get rid of all unregistered motor vehicles in the country, but says more should be done to curb motor vehicle smuggling. He adds that the country has lost huge sums of revenue through motor vehicle smuggling. Mr. Kalembe says it is not enough for ZRA to end at making smugglers pay money for their illegal transactions, but that smugglers must be prosecuted in order to send a strong warning to would-be offenders.
All the vehicles that are in transit in Zambia must be fitted with gadgets so that we monitor them. You monitor them where these vehicles are going. Because most of these vehicles end up in Lusaka. Some are ending up on the core belt. So when you have a system to check and track where they are going, including truck and trailers, you find that you are going to achieve your objectives of ridding off smuggling into our country. Suffice to say that most of these victims who are driving these vehicles may not necessarily be the people that are encouraging smuggling. It's being done by agents, illicit agents, who are not even members of the association. They bring vehicles to a client, cheating them that no, they will bring the documents later, and the vehicle stays like that. So such matters must be taken very, very seriously, because they're not robbing that individual alone. They are robbing the economy of Zambia. They are robbing all the people in Zambia. They are robbing the money which is supposed to go for salaries to civil servants. So I urge Zambia Revenue Authority to up their game and make sure that all these vehicles that were illegally imported into the country there must be a form of prosecution. Prosecute the culprits. Don't just end at making them pay. Make sure that you follow the law to the letter. Let them be prosecuted so that this sends a warning to would-be offenders. We cannot have a country where it's a pante country. Anyone can do whatever he wants to do.
Civil society organizations have welcomed the adoption of the National Land Policy and have described development as a very progressive move that has the potential to secure the land rights of the majority poor and vulnerable citizens. They believe that the land policy has the potential to help in closing the gender inequalities in access to, control, and of land, and affirming the rights of disadvantaged groups such as women, youth, and persons with disabilities. The CSOs have further commended the government for the inclusive approach that was used in the policy formulation process, which allowed for the effective participation of stakeholders, including the civil society. The organizations are happy that after 20 years of consultations and engagements, the government has brought the long process of the land policy formulation process to a conclusion with some progressive provisions, such as measures to strengthen access to land by youth, women, and persons with disabilities. Speaking on behalf of other organizations, Zambia Land Alliance Executive Director Patrick Musole is delighted that the policy is engendered and has potential to address the inequalities in land administration. The non-governmental Gender Coordinating Council NGOCC has called on government to devise more holistic and non-selective approaches in the manner corruption is being fought. Commenting on the recent conviction and subsequent sentencing to 2-year simple imprisonment of former minister in the Ministry of Community Development and Social Welfare, Ms. Emerin Kabanshi, NGOCC Board Chairperson Mary Mulenga has noted with concern that some cases are dealt with faster than other cases, such as those cited in the Auditor General's reports and that of the fire tenders, among others. In this regard, NGOCC has further called upon the investigative wings, especially the Anti-Corruption Commission SEC, to expedite all pending investigations regardless of who is involved. Mrs. Mulenga notes that corruption is an endemic cancer that must be rooted out of the fabric of our society as it diverts public resources from the national treasury to pockets of a few selfish individuals. Corruption affects women and children in more ways than one, given that they are the most vulnerable in our society, she said. She said NGOCC remains resolute in promoting good governance as a fundamental principle of inclusive and equitable development for all.
The silence on the part of government and our investigative wings surrounding these cases is too loud. It is becoming abundantly clear that in some cases, the wheels of justice move with speed, while in other cases, the pace remains slower. As the saying goes, justice delayed is justice denied. NGOCC calls upon the government to devise more holistic and non-selective approaches in the manner corruption is being fought. We further call upon the investigative wings, especially the Anti-Corruption Commission or ACC, to expedite all pending investigations, regardless of who is involved. Corruption is an endemic cancer that must be rooted out of the fabric of our society, as it diverts public resources from the national treasury to pockets of a few selfish individuals. Corruption affects women and children in more ways than one, given that they are the most vulnerable in our society. It is undebatable that income and gender inequalities relegate women and children to the peripherals of development, thereby rendering them more vulnerable when it comes to critical basic social services like health, education, and social protection, which oftentimes remain poorly resourced.
The Emerald Association of Zambia has come up with an initiative to engage local investors aimed at supporting the struggling small-scale miners in Lufwanyama emerald fields. Emerald and Semi-Precious Stones Mining Association ESMA's president Victor Kalesha is hopeful that these interactions will help connect the small-scale miners with big mining companies. He notes that Grizzly Mining, through its proprietor Mr. Abdoulaye Ndiaye, are willing to procure mining equipment for small-scale miners on agreed terms. Mr. Kalesha is optimistic that if this is actualized, it will create jobs for the youth and women in surrounding communities in Lufwanyama, which will subsequently reduce poverty.
We've always said, and we'll keep on saying, the only people that will develop this sector are the people that understand the sector, like Grizzly Mining and Kanjab Mining Limited, because they understand what is involved. And as it is, we want to appeal to government to seriously engage Grizzly Mining and Kaja Mining Limited in terms of finding means and ways of how we are going to help a small-scale miner who is just emerging on how they are able to get to production. And we've proposed that as they do that and operations start through the help of these two big guys, all the stones that shall be auctioned, or rather emeralds, shall be auctioned by the two, either Kajam or Grizzly. But one good stride that we have made is we have engaged the Grizzly Mining Limited, who are willing to come up with mining equipment and a certain operational capital to help the small-scale miners. What we are just waiting for is to put modalities in place to come up with agreements with government on how this could be done, because at the end of the day, they need to get the return of their money that they'll put into the equipment.
This is Camnet News. We take another break. We'll be back with more news.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962 642 490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
Every day for me means hard work. Going to sell my goods at the local market. To get more customers, I have my secret. Oracle Pure Glycerin. It's soft, smooth, and keeps my skin perfect. And my customers know it. Thank you, Oracle, for my perfect skin.
This month, we're taking over your TV screen with brand new entertainment. A Border Patrol agent is forced to work for a Mexican cartel in Coyote.
My family! It's up to you to keep them safe.
A Ghanaian fashion designer weathers societal prejudice while chasing her dreams in 40 and Single.
Single lady to the dance floor.
A husband will stop at nothing to cover the tracks of his wife's outrageous crime in What If?
It is your responsibility to make sure that I come out clean.
3 chefs go head-to-head using ingredients chosen by their very own neighbors in Kitchen Crash.
Oh, I love it. It's blended. It's meat sauce.
There's meat sauce.
And there are wacky adventures galore when 2 families are forced to live together in Boy, Girl, Dog, Cat, Mouse, Cheese.
Really can handle it.
It's your moment to be taken over with the freshest entertainment.
2021 has been described as a highly politically charged year. This is because every 5 years the country goes to the polls, and that 5 years elapses with only a few months remaining down to the ballot. The battlefield to appear on the ballot is becoming fertile. A lot of people are expressing interest of appearing on the ballot.
In all this, our interest is to put the duty bearers, the leaders, and those aspiring to task by asking the relevant questions.
If you're an aspiring candidate, be it councillor, mayor, or member of parliament, get in touch with us to get yourself on the verdict.
We go beyond speculation in dealing with policy and governance issues. The right questions are asked to help you make a verdict.
For more details, you can call us on 0962 965883, 0979 753010, or email us info@camnettvafrica.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Join us on Camnet TV
every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 17:45 hours
on a new program, dubbed the verdict.
Remember that Camnet TV is not just another channel.
Welcome back. We now look at international news. China has announced that it will allow couples to have up to 3 children after census data showed a steep decline in birth rates. China scrapped its decades-old one-child policy in 2016, replacing it with a 2-child limit, which has failed to lead to a sustained upsurge in births. The cost of raising children in cities has deterred many Chinese couples. The latest move was approved by President Xi Jinping at a meeting of top Communist Party officials. But human rights organization Amnesty International said the policy, like its predecessors, was still a violation of sexual and reproductive rights. This is big news in a country which didn't start suddenly producing more babies when the one-child policy eased off to 2. These generations of Chinese people have lived without siblings and are used to small families. Affluence has meant less need for multiple children to become families supporting workers, and young professionals say they would rather give one child more advantages than spread their income among several kids.
China would support families having 3 children, but that's just a headline announcement. There was a number of other announcements that were made about expanding China's pension system, which has been suffering because of this growing aging population, as we saw in the latest census that was done last month. And also there's talk of gradually increasing the retirement age so as to dig at this pension deficit. Other measures that have been announced is also increasing the number of care homes and improving care for the elderly, because this is one of the big challenges that China is facing today, is the fact that it has a growing aging population and that its workforce, the size of its workforce and the population that's in age of working is decreasing. So this is going to be this is quite a milestone after the 2016 change of the one-child policy to a 2-child policy. But once again, there are a number of things that people will want to see put in place before they start wanting to have children again. China has a very low natality rate, and one of the problems here is that the price of bringing up children, especially in China's biggest cities with high education costs, but also not many provisions for maternity care or for working mothers to be able to have children at the same time as pursuing their career. So this is just one step on the road for China to try and stop this prediction that we keep hearing over and over again in the media, that China will grow old before it grows poor.
West African leaders from the regional group ECOWAS have suspended Mali from the bloc, but did not impose new sanctions as they were afraid of worsening the country's security situation. They met interim President Assimi Goïta, who led the coup, the second in 9 months. They called on Goïta to hold a presidential election next February, as promised, and to continue supporting the regional fight against armed groups linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS.
Junta leader Colonel Assimi Goïta swapped his military uniform for a suit for his meeting with West African leaders. They're alarmed by last week's coup, and after hours of closed-door talks, suspended Mali from the regional body ECOWAS.
The recent happenings in Mali have again raised anxiety levels in the region and have somewhat shaken the hope many had of a peaceful, successful transition, which will result in the return to a democratic government in Mali and ultimately and hopefully the political stability of the country.
The heads of state called for the immediate release of the former president and prime minister who are being kept under house arrest. They also want the nomination of a new civilian prime minister and an inclusive government. The suspension is due to last until February 2022. ECOWAS's chief negotiator, Goodluck Jonathan, will be back in the Malian capital, Bamako, in a week's time to check on the progress made in meeting the demands made by the regional body. Meanwhile, the attacks by armed groups are intensifying and spreading. Along the road leading to Ivory Coast, this attack, not in the north or central Mali, but in the southern region. Several people were killed, including a police officer, when armed men fired rounds indiscriminately at a police checkpoint. With the closest army barracks 200 kilometers away, security forces never made it to the scene.
I am pleading, please, we need more security forces here. Suspects may be still hiding among us. We weren't expecting this.
In the absence of a stable government, armed groups are gaining ground. The suspension from the regional body ECOWAS will only further isolate a military junta that has so far failed to protect its people. Nicholas Hawk, Al Jazeera, Bamako.
It's now time for sports news. In sports news, the Zambia Motorsport Association has banned any form of drifting events to be conducted countrywide, and the drifting 7 spinning calendars has been suspended forthwith. The decision follows the death of one person who died while 2 others sustained serious injuries in a fatal road traffic accident which occurred on the 29th of May 2021 at about 17 hours at Nasdaq in Lusaka. Sam Chingambu has appealed to the general public, countrywide and motorsport followers to help them stop any person or groups of people holding a drifting and spinning event in communities by reporting to Road Transport and Safety Agency RATSA and the Zambia Police. Mr. Chingambu says ZMSA always put compliance and safety measures to protect spectators, hence the incident is deeply regrettable. He has since instructed all drifters to park their cars. The ZMSA president has conveyed deepest condolences to the family of the departed fan of the sport. That motorsport event brings us to the end of the news, but we'll take a look at the headlines once more. Doctors continue with protests as PF orders for their immediate dismissal. FRA sets 150 kwacha as buying price for 50 kg bag of white maize. MOSHO asks CONCOURT to dismiss ECL eligibility, case saying he enjoys immunity. And in international news, China allows couples to have 3 children. And in sports news, Zambia Motorsports Association bans car drifting and spinning events. The Camnet World Verse of the day is coming from the book of Psalms 107, verse 1 to 3, and it reads, I give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His faithful love endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord proclaim that he has redeemed them from the hand of the foe, and has gathered them from the lands, from the east and from the west, and from the north and the south. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Thanks for watching Camnet News. Bye-bye.